Hey guys, Ryan Earnhardt here from CreativeSoundLab.tv. Today we're going to be shooting out the AEA N22 active ribbon microphone versus the Royer R-121 passive ribbon microphone. Okay, so two very different microphones, of course, in their design, but in application, they can have a lot of overlap. N22 is designed to be up close to the amp. They colored the mic in such a way that it's not going to be overwhelmed by proximity effect being right up close to sources, such as vocal, a guitar amp, things like that. And of course, the R-121 is a really popular choice for guitar amp, usually paired with an SM57. So my question is, well, how close are these really? And what kind of strengths and weaknesses do they both have? I don't want to complicate things today. We're just going to keep it to just the mic itself. Although I do know that the R-121 is usually paired with the 57, but I just want to see, like, if we just had this mic, how well would it do? So we have a couple different distances and a couple different situations that these mics might be used in. So first up is guitar amp. So at the close distance, I mean, they both sound great, but I think that the 121 has kind of some, it's kind of some noisy low end to it. There's a lot of rumble basically. Where the N22, it actually sounds really good. I mean, I think this mic really shines for a close-up guitar cabinet. And I think that the N22 actually really just knocks it out of the park because you don't have to pair it with other mics to get the high end, where I think the R121 really needs something else to complete the picture. N22 is like the complete picture. The R121 is kind of half the picture. It's the thickness, it's kind of the dynamic sound of, kind of a punchy ribbon sound, but it really needs that dynamic. The SM57 is usually what it's paired with to complete that picture. So let's back up the mic and see how they do at a different distance. Okay, so different story. All of a sudden, the N22 really starts to miss the low end, and it really needs to be close. But that 121, I mean, man, that sounds really good. It's really great at this application, this distance. It sounds great. Now, the problem is that if you were to record live with drums in the room, this would probably be too noisy. You really got to be closer than this. Otherwise, it's just going to be a lot of noise from other sources in the room. So if you're recording a band live, classic rock and roll kind of style with everybody in one room, the N22 might be a better choice. But if you're tracking guitars one at a time, you can use a little bit longer distance and therefore use the 121. Now, an interesting note is that there's a little bit difference in dynamics here between these two mics. I think might have to do with just the design of the mics. There's more electronics in the AEA versus the Royer. The Royer is just a really simple device. It's probably more prone to effects of the preamp and impedance, where the N22 are less prone to effects of the preamp and impedance. N22 would be great for lower end preamps or just a wider array of different preamps. There is a little bit difference in sound. I think the 121 might be a little bit more punchy in that low end. The drawback is that you want to make sure you have a good preamp with this mic because it'll be affected by what preamp you pair it with. So moving on to drum room mic, I wanted to test the on axis and the off axis of both of these mics. First, the on axis. Okay, interesting, you know? N22 definitely has more high end. The 121 has that kind of punchy low end that I was talking about that I heard in the guitar tracks. But let's flip these mics to the side and see how well they do at rejecting the kit. Listen to the low end, listen to the snare, listen to the cymbals, and see which mic does a better job at rejecting the kit. Okay, interesting. I think that if you listen to the snare, go back and listen to just that snare, you can hear that the N22 definitely is better at rejecting the snare. And I think that the 121, it almost sounds a little phasey with the snare. So I'm not sure if the reason is because, you know, the ribbons are placed a little bit differently in the magnets. I'm really not sure, but I think that the N22 does a little bit better job at rejecting the drum kit. So pretty interesting. Now on to drum overhead. Okay, so the N22, you know, this would be a great option if you're used to using like large diaphragm condensers, for example. It doesn't exactly have a ribbon sound, which can be an advantage or a disadvantage. It has a smoother top end around 10K kind of highs, but it definitely has kind of a lot of presence there, more so than a ribbon. And listening to that Royer, it's more of that typical sound where it's kind of almost on the muddy side, but you get that really warm sound, you get that meat of the drum kit. So I want to make sure that I'm clear that it's not really about which microphone is better than the other, but they're tools here. Okay, I've used these N22s a lot lately. They're great mics. I'm less familiar with the 121. Thanks to Eric Seraphin, who let me borrow this mic. It's a great mic as well. But it has a little bit different strengths, but with that comes some weakness. You're gonna make sure you want a good preamp with it. And you may be a little bit on the muddy side if you get too close to a guitar amp. So I wanted to compare these two mics just because I've been asked to by a lot of you guys, just because they share a lot of uses around the studio being close ribbon mics. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you thought of these differences. I mainly wanted to compare them on guitar amp, but I figured I'd try them on some drums just to highlight some of the differences in other applications and other frequencies, transients, things like that. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Hang out in the comments below.